Hello, everyone. Which language we are going to use today? English or Burmese or both?
English is better as all our foreign expatriates are here. So English will be good for everyone.
Okay, I can do that. Thank you.
Micah, you can start introducing the introduction for the pom-pom.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. For today, we're gonna have Dr. Dhammasami. He is born in Shan State, Union of Myanmar, and a Theravada Buddhist monk over 30 years. He has studied in Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka, where he taught Pali, Abhidhamma, and meditation. Then Dhammasami is the founder and abbot of the Oxford Buddha Vihara, and he also leads the International Association of Buddhist Universities and has been involved in organizing the UN Day of Vesak based in Bangkok since 2005. He has been teaching mindfulness, vipassana, meditation around the world since 1996. His book, Mindfulness Meditation Made Easy, has been translated into Thai, Korean, and Spanish, and the Hungarian and Siberian versions are expected to be out soon. Apart from running regular retreats, he also organizes conferences on meditation. So guys, let's welcome Dr. Dhammasami.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I didn't expect this introduction. By the way, it's not an up-to-date one. All the translation of my books are out and reprinted a few times, including the Portuguese and Hungarian and so on. I guess today we are talking about mindfulness. Okay, there's how to use mindfulness or awareness to cope with stress, especially at work and at home. Okay, we are not talking about the life of a monk or a nun, Buddhist monks or Catholic nuns, for example. I participated in a cross-cultural conference in a villa in Spain, where you have a Saint Teresa of Avila, okay, very good meditator. That's in the 16th, 17th centuries. But we are not talking about Buddhist monks and nuns, Catholic monks and nuns, who have years and years of meditation practice. We are talking about ordinary people who go to work on a daily basis and who encounter stress every day, who face a lot of pressure, consistent pressure. It can be anyone. It can be a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Catholic, a Protestant, a Muslim, an atheist, a non-believer. It can be anyone. So we are talking about how we can use mindfulness, which we can do it ourselves. And not just in meditation centers, in retreat centers, Buddhist meditation centers, Hindu ashram, and also Catholic meditation centers. Those religions, they have meditation centers, retreat centers. I'm not referring to those places. I mean that it's possible to meditate right there, okay, in your office. Sometime, if you know how to do that, maybe half a minute, maybe 1 minute, you can do that when the meeting is going on in the boardroom. or sometimes just before a teamwork meeting. You give yourself exactly 60 seconds. 60 seconds, that's 1 minute. 1 minute. And how to do that. So, but today I like to focus on that because I look at your profile as Katie Group. Forgive me, okay. I have not been furbished with a lot of information about your company, so I don't know much about your company yet. But I imagine it would be like any other company with a lot of stress, deadlines, and delivery days, target days, and all those things. All those things. So now I'm going to persuade you. Let's see whether you will be persuaded. Why you should be doing mindfulness meditation at home and at work. Okay, my reason is that according to some scientific findings, people who study the brain of the meditators and the brain of non-meditators together, compare them. And they have found that in non-meditators, the mind wandering is so constant that about 47% of your time at work, your mind would be here and there, all over the places going. And if that happens, your mind is not that focused on the task that you're doing. So 47% is quite a lot. This is from research from Wisconsin University and other collaborated institutions. I'm referring to the work of Professor Richard Davidson, who has meditated nearly half a century, who is a neuroscientist and also clinical psychologist. This is one of his work, the emotional life of your brain. Okay, the emotional life of your brain. How wandering mind affects us, affects our performance at work and at home. We can see the evidence in the brain because they take the pictures of the brain using the latest fMRI. Okay. If you're interested in this topic, I want to refer you to a lot of sources available on the Googles, on the TED Talks. You can search in Google with this word, the sciences behind mindfulness. Okay, if you search this, one of those that would come up is, I think 17 or 18 minutes talk. Not a TEDx talk, but a talk on mindfulness as a tool for happiness, given by Dr. Hedy Kober, Hedy Kober, Kober, from Yale University. She was invited to speak about using mindfulness to increase happiness and also to reduce our stress at the World Economic Forum in Davos. There are other sources, okay? You just type mindfulness as a stress reduction, then you will find a lot of resources from MIT. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, especially from Professor Jonathan Kabat-Zinn, who has since retired from MIT Hospital, a physician and a biologist there. So today is well founded that if our mind wanders often, that affects our brain, the performance of our brain. And our mood, our emotion, our moods and our emotion are vulnerable. We get easily irritated, and it takes longer to recover emotionally. Okay, after we have been irritated, after we have formed a negative view on a colleague, on somebody, you know, we need to recover from that. Otherwise, it's going to destroy the relationship and the environment at the workplace. So each staff, I mean, from the MD, managing director, you know, to the youngest, the most junior staff, you know, everybody needs to take care of their emotion and the well-being, the health of their brain. In order to do that, mindfulness is good for you. It's good for you. If the mind is constantly attacked by negative thoughts, if the mind is giving more time to negative thoughts rather than the positive one. When we think about a colleague, a person, we just repeat in our mind what he or she hasn't done or hasn't done very well. If we do that, you know, the autopilot in your mind is working. And if that happens, in your brain, the old brain, the amygdala, is active, is more active than the prefrontal cortex, the new brain. And you know that the decision-making brain is with the prefrontal cortex, not with the old brain. The old brain, the amygdala, is about fight and flight. Sometimes we also add another one, freeze. Fight, flight, and freeze. Whenever there is a situation, you know, instead of trying to solve it, you know, we just go into a fighting mode. As a result, an increase in pressure on everyone. But sometimes, emotionally and perhaps also intellectually, we don't seem to be facing calmly, to be, you know, instead we seem to be running away from problems. We either suppress it or emotionally we don't want to touch upon it because we feel rather uncomfortable. So mindfulness that we use, of course, originally is from the Buddhist meditation tradition, but today it has been made secular in the West. Everybody can practice it without any belief attached to that. Somebody I knew at Oxford University, you know, we founded together the Oxford Center of Mindfulness. He was the director, now he is retired. I was one of the trustees. And his name was Professor Mark Williams. he was actually he was a priest in the Anglican Church. Yeah. But he was a very good meditator, and he is known for what we call MBS, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which is used to treat people with depression, not just simple depression, but depression with history of relapse. So mindfulness is good in that way. And you can also see this book, The Mind and the Brain. This is from UCLA Medical School. You can see the brain over there, the mind and the brain. This is about neuroplasticity, how we can use mindfulness and change our brain. Earlier, the scientists thought that up to a certain age, our brain cannot be changed anymore. But that's not true anymore. By observing the brain of the people who meditate, now we can see that there's a way to change our brain for the better. And the brain still keeps changing throughout our life. But to change it for the better, and at no cost, I should say this, I should emphasize this. With the COVID-19, okay, everybody is affected for their earning. Everybody is affected. That is what I should say, I should emphasize that at no cost, you can actually train your brain to become better. Then how to train your brain? You need to train your emotion. Negative emotion and positive emotion. As you may have heard of me, times and again, a metaphor that I refer to quite often. There are two wolves in our head, in our brain. A black wolf and a white wolf. Whenever we entertain negative thoughts about ourselves and about other people, about our job, about our country, about our world, then you're actually feeding the black wolf. And the black wolf gets fed, and it gets stronger and stronger. The food that the black wolf eats, the white wolf doesn't like it. It would go starving. So that's to say, black wolf the black wolf has negative opinions, negative attitudes as is nutrition, whereas the white wolf has positive thinking as is supplements, as is food. Here, when I say positive thinking, we're not talking about ignoring all the problems, ignore all the negative things. No, that's not how we define positive thinking in the Buddhist tradition, in Buddhist psychology. In Buddhist psychology, positive thinking means when we are faced with a problem, to remain hopeful, to remain positive, to put it in a more precise and clear manner. When we are faced with problem, to believe that there is a way out, even when we haven't found one. To hold a belief, a positive belief that there is an answer, we just need to find it. So this is a long introduction to mindfulness. Now, I'd like to describe how we do mindfulness. And after that, I'd like to invite you to join me for about 2 minutes, focusing on breathing, doing this exercise. You can do that at work, just 2 minutes, okay? Usually I would do at least about 3 minutes, but today I want to leave some room for questions and answers. And I consider this to be an introduction to the practice for you. So we do 2 minutes, but don't underestimate the power of 2 minutes. If you clock out maybe a few hours, about 8 hours, 2 minutes every day, that means 1 month you will get 1 hour. So 8 months you will have 8 hours. But if you do this regularly on daily basis, even 2 minutes will have an impact, a positive impact on your brain. The frontal side of your brain will be more active than the back side of the brain at the back side, the amygdala. So it's about choosing what we are going to make our default position. Default position with our brain. Is it positive or negative? Is it autopilot or mindfulness? We can choose. You can choose. So the way to do this is very simple. Just to connect with our breathing. We always breathe. We breathe all the time, even in sleep. Of course, when we have a sound sleep, actually we breathe better, because at that time, we are not bothered by any worry and anxiety. So at that moment, the breathing pattern is very smooth. In and out breath is very smooth. The intake of the oxygen is quite sufficient. That is when we get rested. We get re-energized through our sleep. But if we have a lot of anxiety, it doesn't matter how many hours you sleep. You wouldn't be freshened up. You wouldn't be re-energized quite easily because you haven't cleared your head. And the way to clear your head is not about going hiking, going on holiday. That's something like an escape. You try to escape from your problem. When you come back, the same problem will return. So you need to tackle the problem where it is, the root of the problem. So I'd like to mention 2 things. One is attitude. One is attention, the other is attitude. Attention is about awareness. Okay, we're going to be paying attention to our breath, in and out breath. Attitude, what is it? Attitude is attitude of acceptance, attitude of recognition. We recognize that we have anxiety. We recognize that we have stress. Okay. The attitude of acceptance, the attitude of curiosity. To be curious of what is this stress? To look at that closely, to feel that mindfully. Remember this word, to feel that mindfully, to feel anxiety mindfully. If you feel anxiety mindfully for 1 minute, you will understand what anxiety is. And more, okay, gradually you will learn how to cope with that. The thing with us, the trouble with us is that at the sight of stress, at the first sight of stress, our subconscious mind kicks in and we like to run away from that stress. So that's the description of fight and flight. So two components, attention and attitude. Attention is mindfulness. Actually, both are mindfulness. Attention is awareness. Attitude is also the attitude of acceptance, the attitude of curiosity, the attitude of investigating. With this, I'd like to describe you how we can do mindfulness. We will have our breathing as a chosen focus, not the only focus that we have to work on, but we can use it as the main focus, at least for now. The main focus, having our breathing as the main focus. What do we do? When we breathe, we try to be aware that this is an in-breath. When we breathe out, this is out-breath. It's easier said than done. So I'm going to help you with a simpler technique. Let's say when you breathe in, you can count your breathing. Breathing in, then you count in your mind. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's slow and gentle breathing. One in breath, you count 1, 2, 3. For one out breath, again, you count 1, 2, 3. Let's put in a little bit more effort, slightly more. Okay, not to push yourself too harsh, but just to ensure that you supply yourself enough oxygen to the lung, and from the lung to the whole body and to your brain. So that's the description of mindfulness of breathing. But even though we are going to meditate or we are going to do this exercise for just 2 minutes, I want to reassure you that your mind will not be on your breathing for the whole 2 minutes. You got to expect this. You got to expect this. Your mind will wander off. That is to say, an autopilot mode is on. Many people don't know how to switch it off. So the autopilot mode is on most of the time. It's just a habit. Okay. In the Buddhist tradition, we don't look for any causes outside our mind body. We look for problems in the pattern of function in our mind and our body. And we believe that we can change it with our own effort. This is the heart of the Buddhist belief, if you don't mind me talking about a little bit about the belief system. So you expect your mind to wander off. It might go to your work, what you have done yesterday, last week, what you will have to do on Monday. Or you might be thinking what you're going to cook on Sunday. Those are all autopilot mind, autopilot. The mind is operating on autopilot mode. you shouldn't be paying too much attention on the contents of those autopilot mind. What you should be doing then is to focus on the behavior of that subconscious mind, that auto mind. Its behavior is that it operates automatically. So when a thought arises, you just name it as auto mind. Oh, this is auto mind. This is auto mind. Auto mind is on. And then return to breathing. Auto mind is on, return to breathing. If you get, for example, if you have a surge of emotion, maybe an irritation, then you name it, oh, this is irritation. This is irritation. When you name it, I'm trying to help you to look at that closely. Oh, irritation is like this. Okay, it feels like this to have irritation. Straight away, you want to reject what you're doing. You want to reject what someone is doing. That's irritation. I must add one thing. Don't be judgmental. Don't judge good or bad for being irritating. Just try to observe irritation as a third person, as a spectator, as if you are a third person observing an actor or actress performing. So we call this non-judgmental mindfulness, the practice of non-judgmental mindfulness. I repeat again, we will start with breathing in and out, slow and gentle. Count 1 to 3 for one in breath and also for one, for each in breath and also for each out breath. Count 1 to 3. In the meantime, when you find your mind operating on an autopilot mode, starting to think about things that you don't actually intend to think about, then just register that as autopilot mind or auto mind. This is an auto mind. This is like this, and auto mind is like this. Acknowledge that. The keyword, acknowledge that. Recognize it. Then return to breathing. So my instruction can be summed up in three words. It's called 3R. Number one is register. To acknowledge is to register. To acknowledge your breathing in, acknowledge your breathing out, to acknowledge irritation, to acknowledge wandering mind. This is called register. The second one is release. To release it, to let it go. You're going to register, you're going to acknowledge the irritation or wandering mind 3 or 4 times. This is irritation. This is wandering mind, like that. Then you release it, you let it go. The third R is return. You return to breathing. You return to your breath. 3R. Register, release, and return. Register, release, and return. 3R. Okay, we're going to start now. We're going to start the practice for 2 minutes. I'm going to set the time up just to make sure that we don't meditate more. We don't meditate longer than 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, we start now. Just sit comfortably, relax. Now breathe in and out, slow and gentle. If you like, you can breathe deep, slow and gentle. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3. Breathing out, 1, 2, 3. Don't fight with your wandering mind, just accept it. Then release it and return to breathing, the attention of breathing. If you feel stress, some stress, recognize that. Recognize tension in the muscles. Recognize the stressed out mind, the mind that feels so stressed out. Register that stress is felt like this. Don't judge good or bad. Then release it and return to the breath. If you're being judgmental about someone at work, acknowledge that judgmental mind. Oh, this is being judgmental. This is a judgmental mind. This is a judgmental mind. This is being judgmental. And then return to the breath. Register, release, and return. Okay, now the time is up.